Welcome to 4 Questions with an Engineer, a podcast about bearings and motion control. Each episode discusses one aspect of motion control and the bearings that make it happen. We are joined by Corey Helgeson, a mechanical engineer from CCTY Bearings U.S. office. On today's episode, we're talking about bushings found in seats. Corey, can you tell us what purpose do bushings have in seat applications?
So in seat applications, there's generally 2 locations we work with. There's the suspension, which basically just is the height adjustment for the seating. And then there's the recliner bushing, which basically facilitates the reclining movement of the seats. And it's a bushing press fit into a gear bore. And there's PTFE on the inner surface that's contacted by wedge blocks. Now the recliner bushing is very critical bushing. In the industry, we always see the requirements getting harder and harder. Some of the main things, it needs to be low friction, but more importantly, stable friction, which means throughout the life of the bushing, throughout all the durability and all the up and down of the seat, it needs to maintain the same friction range to provide the same feel for users throughout the life. Another important thing about this bushing is generally a bushing will have a shaft on the inside. It's a wedge block, so the contact area on the bushing is a lot smaller than normal, so the stress in turn becomes a lot higher because of the small contact area. Another unique thing about these bushings is a lot of times there's welding going on very close to the bushing, which can create high temperature scenarios for the bushing and requires the bushing to be able to take the high temps. And then just because of the application being so tough, it needs a strong backing. And generally in PTFE bushings, you'll see low carbon steel, mid carbon steel as the backing, which we do use in many applications, but we have encountered some applications where we actually have to use high alloy steel as the backing because the strength needs to be that high.
So, what are some of the material differences found in these bushings?
I'd say there's 2 main types of PTFE bushings. There's PTFE bushings that are mechanically fastened by sintered bronze. So basically, you have a steel backing and the PTFE formulation is poured and rolled into a sintered bronze, and that's how it's mechanically fastened. Some bushings that have PTFE tape, so you have a steel backing and then the PTFE is adhered to the steel backing.
How does welding impact the bushing choice?
Yeah, well, since the welding heat can transfer to the bushing and affect the liner, you need a bushing that can withstand very high temperatures in many applications. Our bushing is formulated to stand up to 400 degrees Celsius, so it's important in many applications.
How are bushings tested in a seat recliner application?
So generally OEMs will just test it in a few different ways, but the main durability test will be they take the actual seat frame used in the vehicle and then attach a motor to it. The actual motor used in the vehicle usually will overheat if they run it this much, so you have to use a better motor, but then you just run it continuously. And we've seen the cycles go up and up on these tests, and that's one part of the test. Another part is simple. Again, they'll have weight blocks, usually 100 to 200 pounds, and attach it to the upper part of the seat where your top of your back would hit, and then run the seat back and forth. And then another one of the important tests is a stall test, basically where the motor is running but the seat is not moving. And if you can imagine, if you were trying to recline your seat up or down and there was something there, that's an actual situation that happens in real life, so it's important that the bushing can withstand that. At CCTY, we have seat frames we use to test bushings, but also what's really the best is OEMs that we work with will just send us their seat frame and they'll send us their recliner wedge block and everything, and we will put our bushing in there, and then we can just run 4 different seat frames continuously at our testing facility. That's how we actually formulated our bushing materials so quickly, is because we have the ability to continuously test 4 different seats at all times, so testing different things and always improving our formulation.
And that's all for today. Thanks for joining us for 4 Questions with an Engineer.